Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, Trap and Roll Soap Company and Rolls Gear, and you can find all of our old episodes at bjjshow.com. I'm Rob, and Randy and I, we kind of had an off week this week as far as jiu-jitsu goes, and we talk about some of the mental obstacles that come with having an off week or an off day or getting beat up on the mats by somebody better than you or maybe a lower rank than you, and just kind of how we deal with it. So we'd love to hear some of the ways you deal with an off day or an off week. Don't forget to send it to, you can send it as a message to our webpage at bjjshow.com, through our Facebook page, or even through our Instagram. And we really hope that you guys enjoy this episode. But they're going to call you as soon as you're doing a podcast, though. All right. That's how it always is. Oh, Randy's not busy.
Yeah.
He's done with class. He's going home.
Yeah.
There's no need for, what was he going to be doing, a podcast or something?
Oh, yeah. All of a sudden I'll get, 15 phone calls and 6 text messages.
Yeah. The world ends. We need you back at the station, all that shit. So.
No, I don't get those phone calls anymore.
Nice. Well, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. I'm Rob.
I'm Randy.
And it's been a rough week, I think, for maybe not a rough week, a couple
rough days.
Yeah, rough days, I'd say. So
I
know we talked a little bit about it before the show started. Yeah. I came here under the impression last week, I'm like, dude, it's going to be awesome. I'm just going to come roll. And then I'm like, well, shit. So long story short, I decided I'm not going to get submitted by a banana split because that's shit that white belts fall for all the time. And granted, these are very competitive people who are beating my ass as usual. So I wasn't going to tap and fought my way out of it. And I felt good. I was like, yeah, I got out of it. Good job. And then the next day I woke up and I said, I probably should have just tapped and let my ego go, as all the white belts and blue belts like to say. And so that's my hard lesson of the week. How about you? How are you feeling?
I mean, I'm trying to get my schedule straightened out. I'm trying to change it up to where I stagger my lifting and my jiu-jitsu. And I lifted and did some kind of not a heavy session in terms of weight, but heavy volume, yesterday. And I thought that I would be able to recover. Did some heavy-ass yard work today before the thunderstorm rolled in, and probably overdid it between those two and hit the mats and had no energy left in the tank. So had definitely an off day. And we were talking before the show with the other Rob.
Yeah, the one from last episode, actually. The last time I was here, that is.
Yeah. And we talked about why off days happen, like what makes... Last week I was on fire. I was moving well. I was landing a lot of submissions. I felt good, just energy-wise, conditioning-wise. And then today, it was like from jump today in jiu-jitsu, I felt like I hit a wall, first roll.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at, just exhausted.
I mean, we're all due off days, throughout our jiu-jitsu careers, martial arts, even work. Yeah. Work, playing video games, doing whatever. Like you're gonna, you're gonna have an off day.
Oh yeah.
And I think maybe it's a way of seeing how you bounce back from it. I think is probably the most important thing, because Lord knows I've had a bad day and just came home and you know what? Fuck jiu-jitsu. This shit's stupid. I'm never doing it again. As a blue belt, blue belts are invincible. Well, at least to white belts. No white belt could ever beat a blue belt. It's fucking impossible. I don't care what you think. You can't be done.
Well, you know what? You don't deserve the higher belt you have if another lower belt ever taps you. It should never happen, right?
It's ridiculous. It should never happen. So I got choked out by a white belt, and this was like a week and a half after I got my blue belt. This is back in Virginia. And it was like, shit isn't supposed to happen. I'll admit, I was like a little sad.
Yeah, of course.
No crying, though. There's no crying in jiu-jitsu.
No crying in jiu-jitsu.
So I was like, this is fucking dumb. I don't deserve this shit. And that was just a bad day. Yeah. Also, came to realize a while later that dude's also a black belt in judo. And so, I mean.
That counts.
Yeah, I mean. he's still a white belt in jiu-jitsu. I shouldn't have lost, but but I mean, like bouncing back. I mean, like, how do you deal with it? Like, is there like some sort of like rituals or some sort of like just mindset you try to do? I know you talk a lot about stoicism and stuff like that, which I think is pretty amazing actually for combat sports, life in general, stuff like that. So like, what do you generally do to try to combat these like doubts, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's normal for everybody to have some semblance of imposter syndrome. But I mean, what I try to do is try my best. I'm not saying it always goes through the way I want it to, but I try to, leave today and today, right? So go home. I'll let myself kind of think about it and stew on it for a little bit because I know how my brain works, and I know that I like to try to troubleshoot things, and it's just a problem solver mentality. Don't think I'd be in the profession I was in if I didn't have that type of mentality.
Yeah.
And so I kind of feed into that a little bit. I give it its time, but then there's a time where you got to say, okay, I've given this the attention it deserves. There's nothing else I can do about it. I try to leave today and today. So going on to tomorrow's a different day. And if you do jiu-jitsu long enough, you realize that is 100% true, that how I feel today might not even be remotely close to how I feel tomorrow.
Right.
I might come in Wednesday and smash it. It could just be a number of different things. So I try to think about it, think about positions. Did I struggle in certain positions? If I did, I'll do a little research on those positions, figure out what I did wrong. But I feel like a lot of times what it is, especially kind of where we're at and how long we've been doing this, is I feel like it's your thinking. I think when you start thinking as an upper belt, things get slower. Things get, it's kind of like hitting that wall. When you just trust your instincts, because what do they say? That, brown belt level, you're kind of unconsciously competent, that you do things without thinking. But when you're trying to bring new stuff into your game, you have to think about them again because you're not unconsciously competent at new material. So try to do research, figure out where I went wrong, and then try it again, different time. Let me ask you this. On on and off days, do you feel like sometimes you feel like you're on cloud nine, no gi, and suck at gi?
Yeah, I've noticed that a couple times too.
And then it flip flops?
Yeah, it does.
It's weird.
So like I do know excuse me, I do notice that like some no-gi days, like I'm falling over, not falling over literally, but like going for submissions. I'm like, I know I got this shit. And then it just completely just falls away because somebody's pulls an arm out because, they're sweaty or they got good defense or, a whole multitude of issues. And I'm like, dude, no-gi sucks. I can't wait to do gi. Where I'm back in my element. I hit gi and I'm like hitting all the grips I need. Like I'm sweeping people at will. I'm doing submissions I haven't done in like months, or sometimes even years. Like, oh shit, here it is. Look at me. I'm the fucking man right here doing all this shit. And then same thing. Like some days I'll just burn out my grips. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why does my gi game suck so bad? And then no gi back into it. I'm sliding through guards. I'm like hitting all these wacky, like you can't escape a good Kimura trap or a good the mousetrap drill for arm bar, key locks and Kimuras and stuff like that for side control. Like I'm just flowing through it, all of it. I'm like, dude, this shit is awesome. And it just, I don't know why. Like I don't think I've ever had a good gi and no gi day like
in the
back to
week.
back. Ever. It's weird.
It is strange how that happens. Like today I felt like I was getting stuck on grips. And then I couldn't move from those grips for some reason. But then like no-gi, a lot of times a week like this, I'd be willing to bet I come in Wednesday and I'll be chaining stuff together, Darce, Anaconda, Kimuras, all kinds of shit will all just feel great. But then next week, gi will probably be where it's at. And it's just so strange how that flip-flops, and I think that comes back to, kind of the thinking process of it. I think if you struggle in gi, then when you go to no-gi, you're just like, whatever, I don't have to worry about all that crap right now, let me just roll. So I think that's another interesting phenomenon within the jiu-jitsu progression is that.
So something else I was thinking about too, we started talking about thinking about new stuff in the game too. Has anybody, maybe just me, like just running some weird people, has anybody ever said anything that kind of made you doubt your game? So I'm pretty open. When somebody asks me a question about like, hey, what do you do in this situation? I'm pretty open with, I have no idea. Like, let's find somebody who does, or find something about it. Like, or I'd say, hey, this is what I'd try. I don't know if it'd work or not, because I want to be able to be like, find what's wrong with my game.
Right.
Big holes in the game, but at the same time, not play. I know what to do, guys. Just trust me, do this. Not like you'll beat everybody every time. We were talking about guillotines. So I was in Germany, and I always joked about and I'm sure I've said it on the show, the people hold on to the guillotines for dear life all the way up to side control, right?
Right.
And then you're just laying there in side control holding this person's head.
Yep.
And helping them pin yourself. And then this guy goes, oh yeah, well you just do the Von Flue choke from there. Right. And I'm like, the fuck is the Von Flue choke? No. And he goes, how are you a purple belt and you don't know what the Von Flue choke is? And my brain goes, yeah, Rob, how are you a purple belt? You don't even know what the Von Flue choke is. I'm like, yeah, how am I a purple belt? It just cascaded there for a second. I'm like, wait a second, you know. At that point, I'm pretty good still about kind of talking myself out of it. But for that brief moment, you do get that kind of were they wrong promoting me? Have I just imposter syndrome? Have I just gotten easy people to roll with? Yeah. Or it's weird. It's very weird sometimes.
I think it comes up in teaching.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it comes up in teaching. Sometimes and it's ego more often than not. You're teaching a class and you're teaching a certain series that you're familiar with, and a student will bring up, well, can't you go and do this? And you're like, yeah, actually that's completely viable. I didn't even think about that. And I think sometimes if you can't let go of your ego as an instructor and take that appreciation and that knowledge, then sometimes that can bruise your ego a little bit, make you question your proficiency and why you're teaching that class. But the reality of it is, you take same thing in law enforcement where we're talking about different classes, tactics, and whatnot. If I take 25 people and put them in a room, well, collectively as 25 individuals, we have arguably thousands of years of experience, hundreds at least, right? But me by myself, I've got my 14, Yeah. And so I can't possibly see everything that all those 25 people have seen in their collective lives and experience in whatever they're doing, if you're talking jiu-jitsu or whatever your profession is. So, for me, I definitely know what you're talking about, because as we go up through the ranks, blue, purple, you feel like you're supposed to know everything.
Right.
But I feel like now at our rank, we know it's not the case. I mean, I can know my game really, really well. I can probably identify almost any submission by looking at it, but not having the technical proficiency to carry that out or teach it. That's a whole different situation. There are some really, really game black belts out there that make a livelihood off of 3 or 4 moves, And that's just not what it's about. And it just kind of depends on your style and what you're doing. But that's the other secret in jiu-jitsu, is not to get lost in that and try to memorize every single technique, because that's not going to work. Know your game, know your positions that fit you and your style, Yeah, I definitely answer your question. When I'm teaching, I feel like sometimes that'll come up and I'm like, I got to remind myself, it's okay that somebody knows something you don't. It's allowed. I'll look this up while we're still talking. Did you happen to see Tom DeBlasio's post he put up today?
I did not.
It's pretty good, actually.
Tom DeBlasio, former guest of the show, even.
I wasn't part of this with you then.
I know.
I'm a huge DeBlasio fan, so I'd love to get him on again.
We can. I'm sure we can talk to him. I'm sure just say, hey, you want to do another podcast?
Yeah, I like that guy.
Just let him expound all his wisdom or whatever, and just do his thing. But
he posts a lot.
He does. He does post a lot. I was gonna say the off days are not just rolling. I think it's instructing as well. They're definitely you talk about with instructing, because I never thought of the whole hey, you can do this, and then because I've been caught in that situation too. You know what, son of a bitch, you're right.
Yeah, you
are absolutely right. And then I usually, because I've been caught, not with my pants down a lot, but teaching, someone says, well, do this. I'm like, yeah, just like so-and-so said, you could do this as well.
Yep.
I apologize, I didn't think of that. So,
well, that's actually what I did the other day when I was teaching a class. Is when I was teaching the class, one of the guys brought up, and I shouldn't even say anything about him being a lower belt, because he's not. He's a brown belt, but I've been training quite a bit longer than him, but he's a game brown belt, really tough guy, and he explained, I was teaching a technique from the gift wrap from guard, because we were going over a series of it anyway, and he showed a different armbar option from that same position. And I just looked at him and I realized, shit, I never thought of that. I never thought about trying to use that particular type of armbar as an arm crush armbar on the opposite arm from the one that you have stuck in the gift wrap, because a lot of times they'll try to post on you as a kind of a defense mechanism, and then you just feed an underhook and get your gable grip over the break point of the elbow, and you've got an arm crush armbar. I'm like, I never freaking thought of that, but guess what I'm going to start doing now?
Arm
start
crush
using
people?
the shit out of that. So I think that's that's a big part of it. Doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing. It just means that he had a different experience, a different technique from that position.
I remember there was this movie. I remember as a kid, it was on the Disney Channel back when the Disney Channel was like a premium cable channel or whatever, and it was about some basketball team. The guy had a basketball. You might know because sports movies outside the Mighty Ducks and any like boxing or wrestling or MMA movie, it's lost to me. He has a basketball. And he pulls out this permanent marker and he fills in one of the little divots on the basketball. He goes, "This is your knowledge of basketball." Then he draws like this little circle around the dot, and he goes, "This is my knowledge of basketball." Is that everything else is the collective knowledge or something like that? It's like what I have no idea about. So
that's pretty cool.
I'm trying to get you to hear.
I was hoping you were going to do a Space Jam analogy when you mentioned the basketball.
Okay, I take it back. Space Jam's another one I know.
It's one of my favorite movies. So this post that DeBlasio, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's kind of long-winded. But basically, he talks about how he opened a message from someone who was interested in running a school but didn't feel like they were qualified to do so.
Yeah.
And he said he scrolled through their page, did some research. Guy was a black belt and appeared to have a good depth of knowledge. And the guy apparently said to him, "Well, I haven't won anything." And he said, "So what?" And he said, "I haven't created champions." And he said, "Well, then," Tom DeBlasio said, "Well, then your definition of champions might be different. Are you looking at helping somebody accomplish their goals by losing weight, relieving stress, helping someone who's depressed find a purpose?" And he said, "Understand if you're a student of the game and truly love jiu-jitsu, if you truly want to help others, care about their well-being, if you put your time on the mats, if you put your time in on the mats," I had an accent there for a second.
I like it.
You're more than capable. Yeah, you're more than capable to teach. And I think that's a good message, because when we talk about not believing in your rank or not believing in your qualifications to teach or any type of situation like this, when somebody challenges your ego, a lot of times, or even you challenge your own, you feel like you don't belong somewhere because you had an off day or because you didn't go win a grappling world championship, and it doesn't mean that you don't have shit to offer. I feel like at the end of the day, you do your time, you learn a lot, and there are so many badass people I know that have never competed, that have never served in the military, who've never been police officers, but they're just the everyday freaking warrior that goes in and trains their ass off, and you can learn a lot from people like that.
You sure can.
And you can be a legit black belt without having to do all those other things. So I think that's pretty cool that he made that post. And that's coming from DeBlasio. I feel like he's pretty qualified to make a statement like that.
Yeah, I feel like he's produced a couple champions or won a couple matches here and there.
Yeah, he may have done a couple things.
Yeah, so. Well, yeah, I mean, stuff like that is encouraging because I know when I originally came in to start doing jiu-jitsu, it wasn't to be like, I want to do tournaments because Lord knows I love, there was one tournament a year maybe. It was in wherever, right? It wasn't anything. It was fun. It was fun as shit, but it's whatever. But now a lot of people are very, very focused on tournaments, and that's okay. And some people, coming in here, they just want to roll. They just want to have a good time. They want to, like me and other Rob we're talking about, it's a place to clear your mind. It's a place to make friends. It's a place to I still truly feel like North Carolina is this weird, jiu-jitsu community, not so much just a bunch of schools who hate each other. It seems like everywhere I go, they're like, "Oh, yeah, what about this school?" "Yeah, fuck those guys." Because, this one time we were in a tournament and they said, "Oh, yeah, those guys don't know how to do takedowns, so, don't worry about them taking you down, and, fuck them for that." Okay, man.
Is it true?
That's true. Is it true? They don't know how to take you guys don't know how to take downs?
I had the same thing in Tennessee. I won't name the other school, but I went to Braga's gym, and that's where I go if I go to Knoxville. It's been a little bit. But they had a very welcoming atmosphere, very similar to TFTC, and I like the vibe there, so that's why I go back. But there was another school out there that I was going to go visit, and the vibe that I got when I went to Braga's gym and I kind of said, "Hey, I was going to look at going to this other school," they were like, "Don't talk about that school here. There's some bad blood there." And I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. Why is that a thing? Unless there's something, I don't know the backstory, But when it comes to rival jiu-jitsu schools or not respecting other schools, man, I'm just not really with that. And I agree. I think North Carolina has a very unique dynamic in that pretty much every school in North Carolina, at least in this part of North Carolina, speaks highly of each other.
Yeah.
And can go to each other's open mats and roll, and it's just kind of this awesome intertwined community. And I used to think it was because the majority of the gyms around here were Hoist Gracie affiliates. But TFTC is no longer a Hoist Gracie affiliate.
Yeah.
And there are other schools around here that are not Hoist Gracie affiliated now because jiu-jitsu's grown. And everybody still gets along. Everybody still gets along great. So, I feel like North Carolina is definitely blessed with that community.
Which is good.
For sure, man. For sure.
But yeah, with off days and everything too, you go to another gym, you have an off day.
Well,
how do you feel about that?
I was getting ready to say, man, geez, when I've gone to other gyms before, and how about you? Did you ever go to another gym and you get smashed?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck? Do I suck this bad?
Yes.
Like, it's almost like when you look in the mirror, it's like, is that what I look like?
It's the, what was it? One of the memes that had Tobias Funke from Arrested Development, and it's like, hashtag, warriors or warriors don't quit, and then it like shows him just sobbing in the shower. Like,
yeah,
that's pretty accurate. Like, my whole life's been a lie, man. Like, it just sucks. And I think something else, and it's not excuses, I think something else that we may not realize is that, like you said, there's some game, like lower ranks, younger,
more athletic.
I can't accept it, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm approaching 40, and I'm like, I'm like 23.
Dude, there's people out there that they're just stronger and faster, and they'll make you pay for it.
And I think, like, understand that's good to go. But, like, just, like, I don't want to go in somewhere and be like, geez, man, that guy, that fucking brown belt shit up? He sucks ass.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, I know.
I truly don't. I like to think that doesn't happen.
But look at it from the opposite perspective. When you flip the lens, you roll with somebody and you tap them out.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think let's say it's a high-level guy, purple belt, brown belt, you go in there, you tap him, do you look at him and be like, oh, that dude sucks? Or you're just like, nah, man, I mean, dude was game. He was a good roll. I mean, I caught him, but I feel like a lot of times when I roll people that are really good, if I happen to catch them in a submission, I don't really think twice about it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we look at things from this hypercritical lens of, oh, they're talking shit about me because, that purple belt tapped me out. They probably think I suck.
Yeah.
In reality, they're probably not even saying that at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point, too, because generally I don't, unless it's somebody like, they've had the Zen Jiu-Jitsu type guy come into one of my classes wearing his black belt. I'm like, dope, he's black belt in style. I'm not going to disrespect him, though, because, he earned something. I'm not going to be like, yo, fuck you and your, traditional martial arts dork. Like, that'd be hypocritical of me anyway. So, so like, he rolled.
Yeah.
And he tried.
Yeah. And
he got smashed by everybody. But in all fairness, I never was like, yo, this guy fucking sucks. Now I think about it. It was just like, it's a different style. He came out and tried.
Yeah.
Good on him. And, he did his own thing. That's cool. But
well, I mean, I had it where I went to Salty Dog in Wilmington.
Yeah. And
I rolled against this guy at the very end of the day. And I was having a freaking hell of a time with him. He was a big, strong guy, too.
Yeah.
I'm not making excuses, but he's a big, athletic guy. A lot of the people there are. A lot of them preparing for fights and stuff. But after the match, I was like, after the roll, I was like, hey, bro, that was a good roll. Like, it was no-gi. It was no-gi day. So I was like, let me ask him, what belt are you? I'm just curious. He's like, I don't have a belt. I just grapple. Dude doesn't even do jiu-jitsu. Like, he's just a submission wrestler, basically.
Yeah.
There is no belt system. But there's people out there legitimately that have no belt. That technically would be a white belt if they walked in here today to train.
Yeah. And
they would lay the smack down on one of us.
Yeah, like John Jones was a white belt.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just a realization of that it's not a magical power. And I think that's the other thing people get lost in translation on with the jiu-jitsu black belt is they think that you should be able to kick everybody's ass. And it's like, no. It just means they've invested a very long time, a lot of dedication, a lot of effort, and they've acquired a lot of knowledge about jiu-jitsu. It doesn't mean that they can beat everybody that's not. It's just not the reality. That's not how the world works.
Right.
But yeah, no, I definitely have had that where I go to the gym and get my ass whooped, and I'm like, well, that was freaking humbling.
Yeah. Good times, though.
When I came down here first time, I went from Team Rock in Eden to Gracie Raleigh, and I was a blue belt. And I got absolutely demolished by all their striped white belts. And I was like, I don't deserve to be a blue belt. And I tried to give it back. I'll never forget. The coach was like, I'm not taking your blue belt. You earned it. Now, you just got to earn it again. That's all it means.
Nice.
You keep it. And so it was more motivating for me having to go to class every single day and wear that belt, knowing that there were white belts in the gym that could beat me, because it made me want to earn the respect of that belt that much harder. And so when I got a stripe on that blue belt for the first time at Gracie Raleigh, it was like I earned that blue belt all over again.
Nice.
It's one of my favorite experiences, and it's one of my favorite stories to tell a lot of the younger blood that come in. It's just like, look, it's like Bruce Lee said, you gotta empty your cup, you know. And that's kind of what it took, and that's not a shot at Team Rock Eden. It's not, obviously not a shot at Gracie Raleigh, but it's just different vibes at different gyms, and there's always going to be somebody better, always. But off days still suck.
They do. They're fucking awful, and you got to talk your way through it. I say maybe treat yourself a little bit. Go home, put on your favorite pair of shorts, t-shirt, watch some TV, and just call it a mulligan.
I think I might have some rum tonight.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I got this rum, Coconut Cartel. You got to try some.
Ooh.
It is delicious.
We still have not done a drinking podcast. Like, this is now, and I'm gonna say this is the longest streak that we've had a podcast where we haven't done a round table, and round tables usually get people drinking.
Yeah.
So I think we might need to bring that back.
I almost stopped at the ABC store in the parking lot and got some bourbon to bring to this, but
damn it. Well, it's good because I got to drive back.
Yeah,
like, that's a bit of a distance.
That's
for
what
me.
I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But yeah, we have to put that together, man. A round table. You said you got some people that are interested in being on. I got somebody that's interested in being on. So we need to make that happen, man.
Sure can. And also still working on the roll-a-thon.
Oh, yeah.
So that's still, just be aware of that. Be aware of the roll-a-thon. So you have anything for our friends and listeners before we head out?
Sorry for the break.
Yeah, as usual. We're always sorry. That's okay.
It's like the boyfriend who cheats. He keeps saying sorry, but damn it.
Baby, I've changed. I'm a changed man. I'll not take weeks off of this podcast.
Yeah. I promise I'm not seeing other podcasts.
Yeah, we totally are. No, we will. I think we guessed too. That definitely brings in a whole new just like level of conversation that you can have with that.
Well, and I'm sure people are like, okay, I'm tired of listening to these two jackasses talk about shit. Like, where are the real experts at this point? You know what I mean? These guys are talking about getting tapped by lower belts. These guys clearly know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, we know what getting tapped out by lower belts is like, man. So I mean, maybe it's not happening to you, but it's gonna.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it'll happen to you too. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it's been another episode of the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. I'm Rob.
I'm Randy.
And we'll see you guys next time.